Welcome, everyone. I'm Dana Peever, decision expert, author, speaker, and podcast host. You're listening to the Wildly Courageous Women podcast. More women than ever are faced with challenging decisions on a regular basis. I am so privileged to sit down with them to discuss exactly what they've gone through and how they've come out the other side, realizing their wildest dreams. I'm sure you'll be able to relate. And don't forget to stay to the end to take advantage of my latest free gift. Let's get started. Welcome to the Wildly Courageous Women podcast. I'm Dana Peever, decision expert, and as always, we're here talking about decisions that have been made in our lives that were courageous or impactful or changed the course of our life, or even one that we wish we could go back on. Today, I have Maria Alexander as my guest. Maria is a boisterous, fun-loving servant leader who enjoys connecting with people. And I'll let you in on a little secret. We used to work together in a past life. So Maria, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Dana.
Now, before we get started, I want to remind our listeners that I ask all my guests what their favorite app is on their phone outside of social media. So you'll want to stay to the end to hear what Maria has to say, because we sure get some great suggestions. And you'll also want to stay to the end to get access to my latest freebie. Okay, so Maria, we're going to take this step by step. And I want you to set the stage for us as it relates to the decision that you've so graciously offered to share with us today. And just to let our listeners know, I have no idea what we're talking about today, so I'm really excited. So Maria, if you could start by telling us about the background, things like how old you were, where you were living, what was going on in your life, those types of things, just set that stage for us.
Sure thing. So the decision that I have had to make has actually been very recent. It's something that I anticipate is going to be very much life-changing for me. Current timeline, I am a middle-aged woman, 49 years old. I've been married for 31 years. And I'm, for the very first time in my life, I find myself not working currently. So as a result of the current situation that I'm in, I've made a decision that I'm pretty excited about and excited to be able to share with you and the listeners.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear this. Okay, so tell us more about the work that you've done and if it relates to, some of the decisions that you're making currently and if that plays a part.
Absolutely does relate to the decision that I'm currently in the middle of. I've only ever worked for two organizations in my professional work history, aside from work that I did when I was young. I spent 22 years at a financial institution. I actually retired from there. And I love to tell people when I talk about retirement at a young age, it just seems like a good idea. Mm-hmm. It sounds nice and sexy, but as it turns out, you find out that when you retire young, most often you have to go right back to work. And that's exactly what I did. I retired from a financial institution and ended up at my last organization where you and I had the privilege of working together.
Yes.
So my background revolves in financial services and talent acquisition. And so the decision that I've made recently also revolves around that background and many years of experience that I bring to that background.
Okay. So you said something that was interesting. You said when people retire young, they always have to go back to work, or you found yourself having to go back to work. Help me understand that a little bit more.
Yeah, so I didn't get to retire because I was financially all set and ready to go live the fun life. Mm-hmm. I simply got the opportunity to retire when I left the financial institution because of the number of years that I had worked there. We had a age plus years of service rule. And so as a result of that, I got the opportunity to retire instead of just leaving the organization. So it actually works well because I still have some of the benefits that I had as an employee in utilizing the financial services. So there's at least that benefit of retiring young anyway.
Right. Great, great. And so when you say, you had to go back to work or you're forced to go back to work, was that from a financial perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. Not in a position to be able to live the fun life. I read the articles online very often. I always question myself if they're actually true or not. But I always read those articles about people who retire in their 30s or their early 40s and wonder what comes of them in their future. Are they able to stay there, stay retired, or go back to work, or whatever the case? Because when I made the decision, I had to go back to work. So.
Right, right. Okay, okay. Thanks for clearing that up for us for sure. So, how long have you been sitting on this particular decision?
It's actually been a few years now. It's something that I've wanted to do, a decision that I've really wanted to make. But because I was what I considered at the time to be secure in the role that I was in, never really um, had the opportunity to make this decision. I felt like I had a good, secure role. I was busy all of the time, doing work that I pretty much enjoyed and I found very purposeful. So just as a result of being busy, and having a consistent deliverables and things, I never really made the time or the headspace to come to the decision. And like I mentioned earlier, with finding myself without a job at the moment, I had some time to really put thought into making this decision, coming to a firm decision.
Okay. So it's been a couple months now?
It has.
Okay. So as you were in the process of making this decision, did you have a plan? Like, how did you go about it?
I'd love to tell you that I had a well formulated, well thought out, documented plan. I did not. I simply knew that this is something that I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And I spent some time thinking about some of the feedback that I've received over the years as a leader of people, and how the individuals and leaders that I've had the privilege of leading have felt about my leadership. And so I decided it was high time that I believe in me the way that others have expressed belief in me up until now.
Wow, that's really profound, Maria. What do you think it was that prevented you from fully believing in yourself in the past?
That's a tough question, Dana. I think it's some of the same snares that many professional women or women in general face. Other people quite often see us in a different light than we tend to see ourselves, and I'm no different than many other women. While I would often mentally acknowledge that someone's feedback may be their perception of me, I never quite saw myself the same way. I used to tell people that I work with quite often, like, nobody's that good, right? Nobody's as good as you're saying that I am. Nobody's that good.
Right.
And so it's often hard for us as women, regardless of what our role is, whether we work in a professional area, whether we're moms, caretakers, sisters, friends, it doesn't matter. It's hard for us to see ourselves the way other people do, and I'm equally at fault.
At fault puts a lot of weight on your shoulders that I'm not sure is absolutely necessary. What do you think was the catalyst then in recent months for you to finally acknowledge your true worth?
It really came as a gift from the feedback of others after exiting my previous role. I've had a number of folks reach out to me. In fact, some that I never met, never directly worked with, that simply knew who I was, knew my name, and knew of the work that I did within the greater organization.
Right.
And got some outreach from a few folks. And it was pretty profound to have someone reach out and speak to the impact that the work that I did had on them as individuals, and upon the female population within our organization. So it caused me to stop and take a look and think, and really spend some real mental energy on how we as female leaders can really make an impact on other people's lives, even when we have no idea that's what's happening.
Right. I think what I'm hearing from you is that sometimes the most impactful validation is the one we're not expecting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I totally agree. All right. So you knew in your mind that you're facing this decision, and you're probably listing out, even in your head, some of the factors that you're taking into consideration, and that type of thing. Did you talk to anybody? Did you have any conversations about it, or was this a solo decision?
No, had lots of conversations with both family, friends, and confidants, coworkers, previous coworkers, those whose input I trust and value, as well as others who may not at all be related to the industry and the type of work that I did, to be able to really try to gather feedback across my group of people that I care about, to determine if the decision that I'm making is really something that can work in my benefit in the future.
Okay. So I think we're all dying. What I want to know what happened next. What decision have you made?
So I've made the decision to venture out on my own. So clearly I've been without work for a couple of months now. And while I have been actively applying for positions, and will likely continue to in the future for the sake of the security of working for an organization, I am going to be launching my own website this week, where I am going to be offering and providing talent advisory services, coaching, including executive and corporate coaching opportunities, as well as something that I happen to be very passionate about, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging strategies, and attraction and retention and engagement efforts. And so I'm going to be, I'm going to take the leap of faith that the years of experience that I have, the hard work that I've put into gaining that experience and working to really hone my craft as a leader of people, that will resonate with other individuals and organizations, and give me the opportunity to continue to provide value outside of the work that I've done up until now. For me, it's a pretty big deal, because as I mentioned, I've always only worked for two organizations over the course of my entire adult work history. So it's a big deal for me.
Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations. That's
Thank
so
you.
tremendously exciting. And I think one of the things that, even I can suggest is that I've seen you in action, not only, from a talent advisory perspective, but also we spent so much time together on our DE&I council. And I, when I think of you, the passion that you have for that topic is something that always resonates so strongly. And I just, I think it's a perfect fit for you. So I'm curious at this point then to understand some of the factors that you were taking into consideration. Like, what would have potentially been a deal breaker, or what were the things that were keeping you from being immediately confident that that was the direction you had to go in?
I would say first and foremost, what we were referencing earlier, just the belief in my ability to do this on my own.
Wow.
Can I really be impactful outside of the structure that working for an organization provides? Having worked the beginning of my career, the first half of my career in banking, Anyone who's familiar with the banking or financial services industry, when you work in a brick and mortar branch environment, everything that we did was structured. If I didn't show up for work or if I was 5 minutes late, the bank didn't open. So my background, I grew up professionally in a highly structured environment. You live and die by your last audit or your sales numbers from yesterday.
Right.
So I function best in that type of structure. When I know exactly what I need to be accountable for on any given day, I know exactly what my goals are. I can track my progress towards said goals. That's the environment that I function really well in. And so being able to embrace the concept that I can do this on my own and I can do this outside of an organization was probably the most challenging, I guess, in short, for me to be able to believe in myself that I really can.
Wow. So do you have a timeline set out for what you expect to be able to roll out or offer?
Yeah, I anticipate we're in the final design stages of my website, so I anticipate I'll be able to announce that out a little bit later this week. And from there, I've already, as you might imagine, done quite a bit of pre-work in preparing myself for what offerings are going to be available and what I have at the ready. So all of the work that I've done up until now has been leading me to, I just needed to get this website done so that now I can publicly announce, and then I'll be ready to take on work. So
Great.
I'm excited about that.
I'm so excited. And by the time this podcast goes live, I assume that will already be launched. So we'll be able to potentially share that with the listeners so they can have a look at what services you're offering. Does that sound exciting?
That sounds so exciting.
Yes. Yes. So tell me, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you feel this is a pivotal time in your life?
It is. Something about, I'm sure some of your listeners will be able to resonate with this. Something about nearing 50, I'll be 50 in just in about 6 months or so. Mm-hmm. And something about coming to the midpoint in your life kind of forces you to start taking stock of where I've been and where I'm going. I recognize that I'm getting closer. This came up at the beginning stages of finding myself without work. I was talking to a financial advisor, and they said, you don't have much time to go until retirement. And I'm like, wait a minute. Yes, I do. And it kind of hit me. No, I don't actually. I don't have that many years. There's more work years behind me than there hopefully is ahead of me. And so that was a little shocking realization, but very much kind of all put together forced me to think about, what am I going to do with the remainder of my career? What can I do that will continue to feed my soul and also help me to be able to make an impact that's broader than what I've been able to do up until now?
Right. It sounds like you've determined that instead of having worked, for a corporate job your entire life, you now want to leave a Maria Alexander legacy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned, there is some stability that comes with working for an organization. So I very likely will do that for a while yet. Mm-hmm. But for me, this is a pretty pivotal decision. And I'm hoping that in the future, I'll be able to truly work on my own and really take that entrepreneurial spirit that I've always given to an organization and make it work for me.
Great. Well, I'll be watching and cheering from the sidelines, as you can well imagine. So how do you feel now that you've made this decision?
I feel empowered in a way that I've not in a long time. I feel in control in a way that I've not in a long time. And that feels pretty doggone good, I've got to say.
Wow, I can feel it coming from you for sure, for sure. So, do you have any advice for our listeners if they find themselves in a similar situation? What would you share?
I would share that for many, one of the biggest challenges and obstacles, as it has been for me, is the ability to see yourself the way others see you, the ability to believe in yourself the way others believe in you. I would strongly recommend that you take a chance on you and that you invest in yourself and believe in your own value, because I can guarantee there's way more people in your life that believe in you foundationally and who you are and what you're capable of than you do for yourself. So I would just strongly encourage the listeners to believe in yourself, see yourself the way others see you, look at you through someone else's lenses. It's so humbling and powerful at the same time.
I agree. I agree. Wow. Well, as I mentioned, I can't wait for your website to be launched, and we'll definitely share that. And I can only imagine what great things are to come for you. I'll be watching, like I said. So kudos to you. I'm going to share that I'm very proud of the decision that you've made, and I can't wait to see where it takes you. So
thank you very much.
As always, I promise that I'll ask my final question, which takes our guests having a look at their phones, letting me know which app is their most favorite. So first of all, outside of social media, so we can't say a social media app. And I always throw in, I'm sure that the Decision Smith app is at the top of your list. So we'll just, cross that off as well as one that we won't share. But so what is it, Maria? What's your favorite app that you have on your phone?
I wish I could tell you it's something like life-changing and motivational, but it's not. My favorite app is just what I love to do in my spare time. That's my Kindle app. I love reading, like really, really, really love reading. And so I love to pull out my Kindle app as often as possible and just fill my time in stories of post-apocalyptic fantasies and, stories and so forth. That's what I love to do in my spare time. So that's my favorite app.
So you read on your phone?
I do, as little as it is, and as many devices as I have. Yes, I read on my phone most often.
It's so funny that you say that. I belong to a book club, and we always joke because the only place I read is my phone. All novels, business books, I order hard copy, but novels, book club, I read on my phone. And there have been a couple times where I haven't been able to get like the soft copy version or something for my phone. I've had to read the hard copy. And I think there's been 3 books in all the years I've been in a book club that I've had to get the hard copy, and I have not finished those 3 books. For some reason now, I don't know. I read on my phone, but I don't hear often of people actually. I see people on their iPads or that type of thing, but not on their phone. So it's nice to know that I have a common phone reader.
One more thing we have in common.
Yes, of the many. Well, Maria, thank you so much for that. I so want to thank you for sharing your time with me today and your stories. I'm so excited for you. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us. If you're ready to realize your wildest dreams, come and join us in the Wildly Courageous Women Facebook group, where we're changing people's lives one brave decision at a time. I'm Dana Peever. Until next time, make great decisions and do life fun. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wildly Courageous Women. Keep listening to hear more stories of these incredible women realizing their wildest dreams. If you have a story to tell about a decision that you've made that has impacted your life, I'd love to feature you as a guest. Please get in touch, and don't forget to grab my latest gift by clicking below. I'm Dana Peever. As always, make great decisions and do life fun.